unfortunately, because the way Amazon designs this stuff, it is designed to be able to that you can go in and defend yourself and have these things removed so they never affect your account. But in my experience as an Amazon bookseller, that doesn't really work. Because, like I said, because of the invoice thing. So the most important thing, the good thing about selling used books is generally you're at a lot less of a risk of getting any of these infractions that they monitor. So the biggest thing is to just be constantly rating these items and just make sure that you're not getting into a bad area. And I would tell you, in the worst case scenario, if you start to get in an area where your inventory is where you're worried about your account getting suspended, send me an email. Let me know where you're sitting at in that bar and what's causing it. And there's a lot of ways to, after a certain amount of time, those things fall off your record. And in the worst case scenario, if you're in that situation, what you can do is you can just simply remove all your inventory from Amazon. Don't sell anything for 6 months and let those things fall off, and then get yourself, you'll be back in a good status. There are options if you get into trouble in there, but the most important thing is to never get into trouble. And the best way to never get in trouble is to just monitor what's happening and try to figure out why, if you are getting these infractions, why they happen. Now, I want everybody to understand that most of these infractions are based on customer feedback. So the customer is initiating you getting these infractions, or it might be some other outside entity that causes you to get these infractions. But it's usually generally somebody is coming in and giving Amazon some sort of information that's triggering these infractions. And generally that's done through feedback. Maybe they might be like calling into Amazon and the agent is taking a note that triggers a system to cause one of these infractions. Whatever it might be, but there's some sort of data point coming in from an external source that's telling Amazon, hey, this is a problem, and we're going to infract you for it. So in hindsight of it all, a lot of these issues, you might get one and there really is nothing you can do about it. There just simply isn't. And the good thing about it, like I said, with the experience of used books, it isn't very common that you run into one of these infractions. But if you do run into one of these infractions, you might look at it and be like, I don't know what to do about this. The person is saying this. I can't imagine the book had that problem, but maybe it did. Or, why? How do I defend that? And unfortunately, in most situations, there is no way to defend it. So you need to, in that sense, that's where it comes back to why you just need to be monitoring this and make sure you never get into a dangerous level. And if you start to feel like you're in a dangerous level, like I said, if you get to that point and you don't know what to do, reach out to sales@kingsridgemedia.com. I'm happy to help you figure out the next move to basically secure your account until you're back into a safe place. Now, most of the time if you're doing that, what's going to end up happening is you're going to take all or most of your inventory offline to do that. So don't reach out to me if you're not willing to do that. If you're going to look at me and say, no, I can't do that, this is my livelihood, well, then you're just going to have to risk it and hope your account doesn't get suspended, because, at a certain point, there's not a whole lot you can do. So, but there are options if you're willing to make sure, if you're willing to do what needs to be done to make sure your account is safe, there are options we can give you to do that. But if one of the stipulations is I can absolutely not stop selling things, you might just be in trouble and you might just have to risk it. That is the number one thing that I would advise you to recommend to protect your account, is to get more to make sure you understand that performance tab and make sure that you're constantly monitoring what's happening with your account. If you see an action required email in your mailbox, do not ignore it. Read it, understand it, and figure out, put some thought into, is this something I'm doing, or is this an infraction that just came through because a customer complained about something that I can't really control? And if it is something that the customer just complained about, just make sure it's not happening they're going to happen every once in a while. But like generally my account, I might get 1 or 2 a year, which is, for the volume I sell, it's never anything to worry about. But if you're getting them on a pretty consistent basis, there is probably something you're doing wrong, and you need to dig into what that is and what you need to fix it before it becomes a huge problem. The other thing I want to talk about, just briefly touch on, which is going to be covered more deeply in another episode, but I just want to touch on it right now, is we're going to go into, and this might even be in the next episode that this comes up. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have the episode list in front of me right now. But what we're going to talk about is when you design your book selling business, you're going to start thinking about other revenue streams you can draw in to that business that are not from Amazon. And this is a great way to protect your business, because if you employ these strategies, now you're not pulling every dollar of your business from Amazon. So if you have a decent split between your business from Amazon and maybe these other channels that you're bringing money in from, you can protect yourself a little bit. If Amazon does do something, well, now it's not as big of a deal because you still have these streams of income coming in. And I strongly recommend from day one, you don't have to implement channels outside of Amazon from day one. In fact, I would recommend you do not, because I find that if you want the most success, you should focus on one project at a time, get that project working before you jump to a different project. But I do think that from day one, you should be thinking about this, because I cannot tell you how many people I run into that are Amazon sellers. They get into Amazon and they start selling lots and lots of stuff, and they're like, why would I ever leave Amazon? And I silently sit there and say, well, I would leave Amazon, because what happens if Amazon ever does anything and you lose your whole business? I would be looking at other channels to be making money. But once people get into that groove where they're making a ton of money off this channel, it's really hard to wrap your head around going off and doing something else, because it's like, well, I could just stay focused on this and just continue to grow this. But it's also putting you at risk. So in a future episode, we're going to talk about some of the things that you can do to expand into channels beyond just Amazon. We're going to talk about different ways, more advanced ways that you can actually protect your Amazon, like the funds that are coming in from Amazon as well, and just how you can grow your business off of Amazon, which is the number one one of the most important things. Again, not day one you need to be focusing on, but it is something that you should be thinking about from day one, because otherwise you're going to become one of these people that get wrapped up into Amazon, and you're going to say, well, why would I ever leave Amazon? And then bam, one day your account's going to get suspended and you're going to be like, I just lost everything. So with that solemn message right there, I'm going to wrap this episode up. If there are questions about this episode, feel free to reach out to me. Email sales@kingsridgemedia.com. And again, check out the show notes. Check out some of those services. We have sourcing services. We have customer support services available to any Amazon bookseller. So check those out. You might find something in there that is basically missing from your business, and we'd love to help you out and get that going on your business. So check those out in the show notes. And as always, if there are any questions, just reach out to me. Again, that email is sales@kingsridgemedia.com. Thanks again for everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.